Every one of us knew he was going to. Every freaking one of us knew he was going to. Everybody in this damn room knew we were going to do that. We knew it. We just had to go do it. But we knew we had the better football team. We knew that. Congratulations to you. Let's stand up and call him name off.
Loud! Loud as hell.
Let's go. Whoa.
But here's Mississippi State up big in the second half. That ball is knocked out of the hand of Card, and that is being...
Here's Cooper, four-man rush for Florida State, going to cut it loose. Phil Johnson caught it! Inside the 10, Phil Johnson on his feet, he'll cut back, and Jacksonville State has won at the Horn.
It's now time for the return of the College Football Rewind Show on Podcast Network 49, where we take a look at all of the best action from the previous week's college football slate, and we break it down for you, the fans. It's the College Football Rewind Show only on Podcast Network 49.
Does not have the legs. And Chris Davis takes it in the back of the end zone. He'll run it out to the 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 45. Here goes Davis. Oh my God. Davis is going to run it all the way back. Auburn's going to win the football game. Auburn's going to win the football game.
Good evening on what is absolutely a great evening to be an Arkansas Razorback fan. I am Money Mike, joined by my co-host here tonight, Mr. Aaron. Aaron, holy crap. I mean, you've got to say it. The biggest program win in the past decade, and probably the biggest win, in my opinion, countrywide all year, just occurred when the Arkansas Razorbacks upset Texas A&M.
Yeah, first of all, I want to say I'm glad to be back, man. It's been forever since I've been on one of these shows. This
Absolutely.
What a great night to be here. Like you said, I think honestly, the last time I was on a show, I think Arkansas just lost to NC State in baseball. So this is a lot better win and a lot better day than that one was. But man, yes, sir. Turn on that damn jukebox.
Hey, that's certainly right. This win improved Sam Pittman to 3-0 against Texas teams this year, defeating Rice, defeating Texas, and Texas A&M. There was some scary moments in this game that we'll get to, but I tell you, overall, I text you at one point during one of the low moments of this game. I think Hornsby, and we'll get into our thoughts on Hornsby. I think Hornsby was in at quarterback, and I texted you, and I said, even if we don't win this game, obviously we're headed in the right direction.
Oh, absolutely. This one would have hurt. I mean, because like we said, you and I talked about off air, we kicked their ass. It wasn't even competitive until KJ Jefferson got hurt. And then they broke that one run with Spiller, who was a guy I'm so glad to be rid of because that guy was just everywhere. He was A&M's whole team tonight, to be honest with you.
He absolutely was.
He broke that 165-plus yard run, and I'm like sitting there going, "Oh my God, we're still up 17-10, but Jefferson then gets hurt." And I'm not knocking Hornsby. I think he's got potential down the road. He's just not ready yet for this level of competition. I think He's really good. I just don't think he's ready yet. And
Absolutely. And for the first time, again, we talk about it week after week after week, this defense. Holy crap. Like, the defense is the reason why we won this game today. Let's be honest. KJ goes down, and the defense somehow only gives up a 75-yard touchdown, and that's it.
Yeah, and of course, as everybody that's a Razorback fan knows, we hired Barry Odom before last season, and our defense last year was not very good. But I'm also, a lot of people were like, and including myself, were like, I'm not gonna dismiss Barry Odom just yet. I never did that because I felt like last year was a throwaway year where he had no off season, he had no spring or no spring practice, no real fall practice to speak of to implement his defense. But when we hired him, I'm sitting there going, this is the biggest defensive coaching hire we've ever had that I could think of anyway in my lifetime, because the guy is a defensive genius. And he didn't do very well at Missouri, but, who's going to get kids to go to Missouri? I think it's a lot easier to get kids to go to Fayetteville, Arkansas than to go to Columbia, Missouri. So
I think Drinkwitz is finding that out right now.
Yeah, and so, I think Odom's an amazing defensive coach. I was so excited we got him. My only fear is those fears we always get at Arkansas that, down the road, bigger programs are going to say, hey, look what he did with Arkansas. Let's bring him on here. But until then, we got a great defensive coordinator who can get a scheme ready for any team. He proved it last. As little as Georgia Southern is, running that triple option is not easy. It's not easy to defend. And we just flat out shut him down. Yeah. So that's why I'm excited. And I know we'll probably get into it later about Georgia next week. I'm not saying we're going to beat Georgia. I'm not that drunk yet. But I do think we'll be competitive. And I think it'll be a really good 4-quarter game because I think Barry Odom will figure out a way defensively to keep us in the game. And this defense they've proven to this point they deserve our respect and they deserve our they deserve us to sit there and say, hey, let's give them a chance because I think they have a chance to shut Georgia down.
So I posed a question to you earlier in the group chat during the game, and I'm going to pose it again during our preview of the Georgia game here towards the end of the show. But definitely a strategic situation faces the Arkansas coaching staff right now. Let's talk about, though, somebody that's really – Hawk fans have been up and down on this kid. Last week, Sam Pittman actually took a moment in his press conference to say, Arkansas fans seem to live and die by every pass completion or incompletion that KJ throws. I think today we found out that those questions aren't there anymore. KJ not only, and we'll talk about this because I do think he stayed in during the initial injury to the detriment of the team, but when we get back, when we talk about it, of course it obviously worked out. But I mean, I'll be honest, KJ, if we're talking about Spencer Rattler for Heisman, after that performance and his performance in the Texas game, why not KJ? Why isn't KJ being mentioned?
I think, it's to sound like a typical Arkansas fan, it's because he plays at Arkansas. And I mean, let's be honest, it took a once in a lifetime Darren McFadden to even get mentioned in the Heisman race. And I think we both agree he got robbed twice.
He got screwed, yeah.
So, I think he definitely should be. And I'll tell you this much: if we do go to Athens next week and pull off the upset, they'll have no choice at that point. They'll have no choice but to look at him that way.
I'm going to be honest, and I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. I'm not going to be crazy enough to think that Arkansas is going to go in here and win this game in Athens. Of course, there's opportunities. We're going to be the best defense they've seen so far. And again, I don't want to get into that too much, but until we get into the preview. But here's the thing. You're looking at this game. If Arkansas wins this game, Arkansas is in the driver's seat. You're talking about not a potential top 10 Arkansas. You're talking about a potential top 5 Arkansas. And at that point, we have Alabama at home this year. I believe. Don't we have Alabama at home this year?
No, we have them in Tuscaloosa this year.
We have them in Tuscaloosa, but by God, Alabama's been looking a little rat poisony, so to speak. I mean, I might start drinking the Kool-Aid a little bit and wondering if Arkansas is going to Atlanta this year.
I was watching the game with my father tonight, and that's what made this so special to me is I haven't got to watch a game with him in 2 or 3 years. So to see this win with him was great because my dad is one of those people that is national championship or bust because he's like 60 years old and he's waited 57 years for one of these things.
Right.
But even my dad was so excited after this win, he was almost in tears because it's for the first time in a long time we look like a legitimate team. Legitimate team that is not just good, but we're scary good. And if Georgia doesn't overlook us, or if Georgia overlooks us, we can go in there and smack their and upset them. It's gonna take a lot, but if they don't take us seriously, they better.
Here's the thing. I completely agree with you on defense. The defense is going to be the key to this game. KJ, honestly, I think we are the most dangerous team that Georgia will have faced at this point in the season. So definitely we'll get into that here in a minute. But, you got to say, I think KJ shut any doubter up tonight with this victory. I think KJ is almost at Ryan Mallett level for me at this point. The kid has Ryan Mallett arm with fucking Cam Newton build. Like, it's crazy to me.
Yeah, and tonight, if nothing else, today proved just how mentally tough and physically tough KJ Jefferson is. If people didn't know that before today, they know it now because that injury looked bad, and he was slamming his helmet in disgust. He was jumping on him. Most quarterbacks would have said, you know what, let the backup finish the game. I remember a game against Texas where Matt Jones literally walked to the sideline and forfeited the rest of the game because he got hurt. KJ Jefferson came out tonight and just said, no, to hell with this. We're going to win this game, and I'm going to win it with my legs. And he did so. He proved how mentally and physically tough he is.
I think I can guarantee you there was one scout sitting in a skybox for this game. If scouts were watching this game, I mean, KJ still got another year to mature too. Thank God. KJ still has another year to mature, and he'll be at Arkansas for at least one more season. But if you're in the NFL right now, you may be licking your chops a little bit at the thought of a mentally, physically tough quarterback like KJ Jefferson coming out, not in this class, but the next one.
Yeah, and like you said, he's got a rocket arm. I mean, his arm is – but that pass to Burks, that 85-yard touchdown pass, was about 60 yards in the air, and it was on a dime. I mean, you could not have walked out and placed that ball in Burks' hands any better. And, I mean, that throw alone should get scouts salivating over this kid. And to go a little further ahead, I'm sorry about that, but
– Oh, you're fine.
Next year, as great as this year could be, next year we got 7 games in Fayetteville. 7 of the 12 games are in Fayetteville. And with a team that's going to have another year to mature and another year to develop, if we don't make it to Atlanta this year, I think we have a great shot because we do get Bama at home next year.
I mean, here's the thing we look at. I think we talk about how this is going to be a murderer's row. Auburn just struggled with Georgia State at home. Ole Miss has no defense. Obviously, Georgia's Georgia, and we'll get into that, but 3-1 looks a lot more likely after today's game than 2-2. Am I right or am I right?
Oh, you're completely right. And again, my dad and I were talking earlier. There are only 2 teams on our entire schedule that I fear, and of course, one's Georgia and one's Bama. There's not another team on this schedule. That includes going to Baton Rouge. LSU does not impress me at all. No. They are not a good LSU team. This defense can shut that offense down.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
there's not another team on this schedule that I look at and say Arkansas cannot match up with and Arkansas cannot beat, except maybe Georgia, and that's a maybe, and probably Alabama. I mean, let's be honest. It's going to be hard to go to Tuscaloosa. I think we have a better shot next week than we do going to Bama. But other than Bama, I think we match up with just about every other team on our schedule.
Absolutely. I mean, and again, this defense, how great is it that we're talking about this defense is the reason why we're sticking around. It's been at least 15, if not more, years since we've been able to talk about our defense keeping us in ball games rather than our offense. Goes all the way back into Houston Dale and some of the teams he had. Let's go ahead before we start getting into the quarters by quarter breakdown and the scoring. Let's talk about this. I mean, I can see the comparisons and I draw the comparisons. Sam Pittman is Houston Nutt, but Sam Pittman's willing to take a step back. I think that's the big difference. But to get his players to step up in one single game situations, game by game, we haven't seen anybody come close to the Houston Nutt on that as we have now with Sam Pittman. Am I right?
Oh yeah, I think so. And I've said it before. I've told you before. I'm a huge Bobby Petrino fan, but let's be honest here. When Petrino was here, our defenses were garbage. They just were. And with Brett Bielema, our defenses they weren't garbage, but they weren't very good. They were just sort of middle of the pack at best. This defense could be in the top 5 in the SEC by the end of the year. That's how good this defense is. And so, and like you said, that's what excites me. That's what excites me too, is forget the offense. We've always been able to score points, but we can hold teams to 10 points. A&M getting held to 10 points is almost unheard of. That's just crazy to me.
Absolutely. I mean, you're right. The defense is absolutely what won us this game. Number 55, who, Lord, I apologize. 55 is the reason we won this game and is my MVP for this game. I'll 100% say that right now. The edge rusher, I forget what his name is.
His last name is Johnson.
Johnson, yes. That kid is the reason why we won this game, putting constant pressure on Zach Calzada. So let's go ahead and get into the breakdown quarter by quarter here. The Hogs struck first, leading 3-0 on a little 46-yard field goal. The Hogs were humming early, as then KJ Jefferson threw that 85-yard pass to Treylon Burks. I mean, again, it's another situation where the Hogs just absolutely look fantastic, and we haven't seen this offense hum this well all season. I mean, even in the Texas game, we didn't see KJ take the lid off that ball like we did today here in Jerry's World.
Yeah, that first off, I want to go back to the field goal for a second, because we haven't had a kicker in a while. So it's nice to have a kicker that can come out and kick a 46-yard field goal and make it look routine. So I think Zach Hawker was the last good kicker we've had, and I can't believe he's been gone. He's been gone for like 6 years now. So, we haven't had it 5 or 6 years. So we haven't had a kicker in a while. And this little kid he's got a leg on it. He made that 46-yarder look easy. And then, absolutely, like you can't talk enough about that bomb to Burks. He was that pass. And what we haven't talked about yet is the fact that KJ got drilled as he was throwing the ball. I mean, he took a hard shot as he let the ball go, and he still put it just right on the money for a touchdown.
I mean, here's the thing. There was a couple pass interference calls. There was a couple plays, though, that I was just like, yo, where is this? I think both of those, I believe they were in the first quarter. Both of those pass interference calls were very, very ticky-tacky, in my opinion. Texas A&M got the first one, and then we got the second one. I believe it was actually Spiller that got that first one. They said that he reached around and grabbed Spiller. Again, I didn't see that, but we came back on the next drive and got a pretty ticky-tacky pass interference call ourselves. What did you think about officiating overall? We'll get into the one that I think was pretty egregious here at the start of the third quarter that KJ got injured on, but what did you think overall about the officiating in this game?
I'm going to sound like a referee hater, but I thought these officials were garbage.
Okay.
That first A&M drive, they got better as the game went on. I will give them that much. They got better as the game went on, but that first A&M offensive drive, there was about 4 plays in a row where one of our defensive linemen just got tackled to the ground right in front of the official, no flag. And I'm sitting there screaming at the TV, where is the holding call? And then on our wide receiver got called for a hold on, it was, I guess if you go by letter law, it was a hold. That wasn't my issue. My issue was you missed 4 of them on the A&M drive where that was right in front of you, but you catch this one. I mean, and I don't think, eventually they kept showing Sam Pittman talking to the referees. He's got to be going, where are these calls? Or why aren't we getting these calls? As the game went on, the officiating got better, and luckily the officiating didn't have anything to do with the outcome of the game, where that really would have been bad.
Oh,
so
yeah,
overall,
absolutely.
I'll give them a C+, overall.
I'm going to be a little bit nicer and say a B-. I think both of those pass interference calls were very ticky-tacky. I'm going to have to make fun of our old head ball coach, though. Whatever penalty he was looking for about the clapping or whatever on that ball start, like, Sam, come on now. What the hell were you looking at?
Yeah, that was I kept thinking maybe the Texas linemen, A&M linemen were like barking out signals like with their mouth. That's what I was thinking. But then I saw Pittman and the offensive line coach clapping, and I'm like, there was no clapping. I didn't see anybody clapping. I thought maybe they used their mouth to do it, but you can't do that either. That's illegal too. But the clapping is really what you see, and I'm with you. I didn't see any clapping.
And the way Malik reacted to that, to his guys jumping, made me wonder, if it was possible that something was going on with that. But yeah, that was definitely unique. I've never seen a head coach get so fired up over clapping. Let's go ahead and get into the second quarter of this game. The scoring here, another KJ Jefferson pass, 48 yards to Green for the touchdown. That was explosive. Green showed a lot there. Of course, Little knocked through the extra point, and then Texas A&M makes it 17-3. But what I really want to get into is the end of the half there, where we saw a 4th down play. Number one, I'm going to question going forward in that 4th down situation. I know a lot of people say it's the right call. I think it was a gamble with momentum. And I think we saw that it was a gamble in momentum because we gave up 3 points on the next drive. But why in the hell do you not run KJ if you're going to do that? Let's start there. Go ahead and start there, Aaron, and then we'll get into whether it was the right decision.
I don't know. I don't know. I was sitting there asking the same thing. I mean, if you're going to compare him to Cam Newton, which I could totally see the comparison, Cam Newton would have taken the snap and gone straight ahead, and there was no stopping him. And at that point, there was no stopping KJ either. A&M did not stop us in that entire first half. We stopped ourselves until that play. That first drive where we ended up kicking a field goal, or no, I think it was the drive before that where we had to punt, but we were moving the ball right down their throat. They were doing nothing to stop us. And then we had a false start penalty, and I think we missed an assignment on a block and got a lost yardage play. So A&M didn't stop us. We stopped ourselves until that play. And they made a huge play, made a huge stop. And I'm like you, why? I don't understand either. Why not just run a quarterback draw with Jefferson?
Okay, so now, of course, we agree on the Jefferson situation. Do you agree with me? I felt like the gamble with momentum was too much in that situation. We should have kicked the field goal, taken the 3, and continued on about our way. Of course, a lot of people are pointing out that if we would have continued, if we would have gotten it and continued, we could have possibly ran out the half with the touchdown too, and been up 24-0 at that point. Where do you lay on the actual decision to go for it?
I'm gonna disagree with you respectfully, my friend,
Okay.
because I think I was totally fine going for it. In fact, I was screaming at my TV, "Please go for it," or my dad's TV, "Please go for it." I didn't like the call, but I don't think A&M was stopping us, and I didn't think they were going to stop us on 4.5 yards. I didn't see them stopping us. I didn't see it as a gamble because I thought they would run KJ up the middle and get it easily for a first down. That's what I thought was going to happen. So I would be a hypocrite now to look back and say, "Oh no, I thought they should kick it," because I didn't. I thought they should go for it. I just thought the play call should have been better.
Absolutely. And I mean, you saw KJ, and again, this is a thing that, again, is going to endear him to Arkansas fans as a whole. You saw KJ pissed off that he didn't make that he didn't get that run. I mean, if you're KJ, do you not just keep that ball? I mean, I'm just saying. If you're that fired up about it, do you just not say, "No, fuck that, I'm running this ball"?
I don't know that at this point he has enough clout with the coaching staff to do that yet. I'm not sure where it lies on that. Whereas I don't know at this point if he's able to. I haven't really seen him audible a whole lot, so I don't know if he's able to really do that yet without getting the coach all up his ear. So I don't know how that works, but I did love the passion he had coming off the field. Like, give me the effing ball. Why don't I have the ball? I mean, yeah, like you said, he was pissed. And rightly so, because it was I like Kendall Briles and I like Sam Pittman a lot, but that was a dumb play call.
Absolutely, and I don't think that I think the decision to go for it on that fourth probably came from Pitt. Obviously, I don't think Pitt had anything to do with the play call. Pitt has been very vocal in that he's the CEO and he allows the offense to run the offense and the defense to run the defense. So I think he made the decision to go for it, but he left it in Kendall's hands. Let's talk about Kendall and his overall. Let's talk about Kendall and his overall calling of the game. Were you impressed? There were times when I'm like, Kendall, you got to, when KJ was trying to gut it out in the third quarter, I was like, man, you got to call a pass. You have to at least show a threat that we're going to pass the ball. And there were times when I was definitely questioning Kendall Briles.
Yeah, I'm with you. The first half, other than that fourth down play call, you take that one play out of the equation. I thought he called a masterful first half because A&M was looking for us to run the ball. They have one of the best pass defenses in the country, or so I've heard anyway, one of the best front sevens in the country. So he came out and started chunking the ball down the field, and it was working. The one thing we haven't mentioned yet, and maybe we will later, but I want to mention it now too, our offensive line was freaking phenomenal.
Oh,
they
absolutely.
were absolutely dominant on that offensive line today. A&M, I mean, even the play where KJ got hurt, he took a hit. He ran 9 yards downfield before he got touched. So that offensive line deserves a lot of credit. So maybe that's why people decided to run the ball a lot in the third quarter. But like you said, you got to throw it some.
I'll give them credit. I believe, when KJ was out, I believe they looked a little bit rougher. Obviously, there was a big time miscommunication between the way Malik was running that offense and the way the offensive line was going there. And we are actually joined by Mr. Brad. Brad, we're on the fourth down play here at the end of the second quarter. I want to ask you the same question I asked Aaron. Number one, was a good decision to go for it because you gave up a ton of momentum, and why the hell was KJ Jefferson not the person running that ball on that fourth down?
Well, let me first of all say, just ask, can you hear me pretty decent?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, well, I may cut in and out until I can get through this little stretch, but on that fourth down play, absolutely, I think it was a great decision to go for it. We can criticize, or we can objectify, or we can even, break down the play call. The thing about it is that you had success against that Texas offensive front, or A&M front. And, hindsight's 2020. We look back and we go, well, had KJ pulled it and went around the corner, then absolutely,
I mean, the thing is, yes, he could have went around the corner and we lost him. Unfortunately, I think he went through the bad spot as he was talking about. But the thing is, of course, I don't even agree that you send KJ on a boot on that. You have to go up the middle with KJ. KJ proved even after he was injured, and now you're back so you can hear me. I don't think you send KJ on a boot on that. You have to go up the middle. Even when after KJ was hurt, and we'll talk about it when we get to the fourth quarter, he went up the middle, and that dude is a fucking man. Like, he blew up that safety, and KJ is definitely not afraid of contact.
No, KJ's not afraid of contact. But, I guess the point I was trying to make is that you've had success all year long in the short 4 games that we've had where our running backs have pretty much controlled the line of scrimmage, and it's, moving it past the line of scrimmage. So I don't necessarily say it was a bad play call. I just don't think that we executed it the way that, we wanted to. And, we had our defense on the field a lot of that first half, and they were doing.
I'm agreeing. Did we lose you? Oh, we lost him again. He is right. Our defense, I think he was getting ready to give our defense some kudos. Our defense was phenomenal today in keeping us in this game. Like, anytime except for the big run, anytime we asked our defense, they more than delivered by any metric you can look at. Am I correct on that, Aaron?
Absolutely. And I'll go back and look at that long touchdown run, and that'll be one play. As much as it sickens me because I despise A&M, I will tip my hat to A&M. They blocked that play up perfectly. I mean, it wasn't like our defense was, missing tackles on that play. I don't think Spiller really got touched. The blocking was phenomenal. He just hit the hole hard, and if he did get touched, it was just barely. And he just busted it up the middle and was gone. I don't really know that, the best defenses in the world could have stopped that the way A&M, for that one play, their offensive line looked like a top, offensive line. They blocked it up perfectly. Spiller hit the hole, and he was gone. So I'm not even going to blame them for that long run. I think it was just the case of a great play by A&M.
So, man, I tell you, Calzada looked nervous the whole fucking game. Honestly, Calzada looked like the backup that he is. I think it's obvious that he will not be the guy if this other kid can get better by the end of the season. I think that will go back to him. Man, Calzada looked rough the whole game. Even when they were playing well, Calzada looked pretty darn rough. But he was able to orchestrate a drive there at the end of the half that ended with a 49-yard field goal. I saw that. I saw them lining up for it, and then they called timeout. Sam called timeout. And I asked Brad, I was like, Brad, do you think we're going to come for this? Do you think we're going to come and try to block this field goal? And he said, nah, we had too many men on the field. And, of course, they confirmed that on CBS shortly after he sent me that text. But, yeah, I mean, Calzada looked pretty rough there in the end, or until that last drive at the end of the half. But, again, you got to give the kid credit. At the end of the half, he did a hell of a job getting them into field goal range. And like I said, you really felt the momentum turn whenever they turned us away on that fourth down play to allow them to then turn around and go down and get a 49-yard field goal.
I don't know if I would say the momentum turned at that point. They were able to go down and get the 3 points, but where I would disagree about the momentum was I think that Arkansas was able to actually get, I don't think it was give or take in the momentum column because of the fact that Arkansas was able to just hold them to 3, and they weren't able to fully capitalize. Because if you look at that situation, Arkansas getting the ball back in the second half negates the momentum that Texas A&M would have received. And I don't know how much you caught of my fourth down analysis, because I kind of broke up while I was getting ready to get back into town. But my point on the fourth down is that the Texas A&M defense was in a very soft, what I would call pass protection mode at that time, after it was 3rd and like 12 or whatever. So I think they tried to use their power backs and their offensive line to do that. But I don't think there was a momentum shift at all, really, until you advance to the third quarter. And I'll go ahead and let you set all that up, because we know the reason why. But in all honesty, I don't think that the momentum shifted very much, because the Arkansas defense was able to stand up and give the guy credit. He made a 49-yard field goal. I mean, it's not a gimme by any stretch of the imagination in college football.
Aaron, anything else you want to talk about in that second quarter before we move on to the third?
Does a kicker ever miss against Arkansas anyway? I mean, have we ever had a kicker miss a field goal against Arkansas?
Yes, Lee Tiffin.
Okay. Yeah, there you go. 15 years ago.
We need Lee Tiffin at Alabama this year.
Oh, that would be nice.
I tell you, wrapping up the first and second quarter of that ball game, the takeaways that I took from the first half was, the defense, did what they were supposed to do. They put pressure on the young quarterback, and they were able to kind of razzle him. Another thing that they did was, and they did it the entire game, was they took Weingarter out of the whole equation. And, he burned Arkansas last year a lot. And so they did a great job in that first and second quarter. Plus, I think the offense did a great job of moving the football. And I thought that KJ Jefferson showed his arm and his ability to throw the football, the thing that had been in question coming into this matchup. So I thought in the first, second quarter that a lot of questions were answered, through that first half.
Real quick, before we move on, I gave Aaron this analysis earlier, and, now that you're here, I kind of want to get your idea on it. If we're talking about Spencer Rattler as a Heisman candidate at this point, after today, I mean, can you not be talking about KJ Jefferson in that talk? At least on the outer rings of that?
Well, I'll go ahead and put that to bed. I don't think that KJ Jefferson is ready for the Heisman talk, because honestly, I think that barring some kind of catastrophic event, I really see the cat at Matt Corral at Ole Miss as being the Heisman Trophy winner, even in a loss to Alabama. If Ole Miss was to lose to Alabama and lose to Arkansas, and those would be the only 2 losses, I could see Matt Corral still having a pretty good game in both events and still winning the Heisman. I mean, the kid's just good.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, let's go ahead and get into the third quarter. On the very first drive, I want to say 3 plays in, KJ Jefferson scrambles, and here's my biggest issue with the referee. It looked excessive on the sideline. Maybe that's me wanting to protect my quarterback, but KJ gets thrown out of bounds, and I believe he hit his knee on either the bench or the trash can. But KJ ends up coming up a little bit limp, so to speak, at for the rest of that first drive, and it really changed everything so much for what we did besides on defense. Offensively, there really wasn't much offense to speak of in the third quarter. But let's talk about that play. Aaron, do you agree with me? It looked excessive to me. He got that extra push, it looked like to me, on the sideline where you could have thrown a flag.
normally I'm not one to, I don't mind seeing the quarterback get hit. I know that's not what football people see nowadays, but he was giving himself up and going out of bounds. So I could see where you're coming from. I think maybe the fact that he got, he hit the ground and rolled to the bench made it look maybe a little bit more excessive than it really was. I wasn't thinking at the time when it happened that there should have been a flag. I would not have been upset, of course, if there was, but I wasn't thinking, that there would be one. I could see both sides of it. I'm okay with it not being called. I'd have been okay with it being called. Had KJ just hopped right up and walked straight to the bench and not been hurt, this wouldn't even been a discussion probably. But I think because he got hurt and because he hit hard on the ground and rolled into the bench, that we as Arkansas fans are going to be a little bit more ticked off that there wasn't a call. But I think it was an okay no call. I don't think it was. The only issue I had was he was giving himself up. He was going to the sideline. That was the issue.
Right, absolutely. Brad, what do you think? A good no call, or did you think it was a little excessive as well on that hit?
I mean, to be honest with you, my internet or data signal on my phone was hit and miss for some of this game. I did see a replay of it, and to be honest with you, until you brought the point up, I didn't even think about it. I know that people say he was going.
Oh, we lost Brad there. It sounds like he's going to disagree with me there as far as that goes. Whenever he's able to rejoin us, we'll get the rest of his thoughts. But Aaron, I'm probably about to go from the biggest Arkansas, sounding like the biggest Arkansas homer, to maybe one of the most hated Arkansas people in sports talk. But I'm going to say this. I think KJ hurt the offense by coming back out for the rest of that drive, and I believe he came out the next drive as well. Whether it be Kendall Briles' fault or his own, that defense was ready for him, and they knew that he couldn't run. And I feel like if we were going to make a change, we should have made the change to Hornsby right there.
Well, if you're the most hated Arkansas guy in the state, then I'll defend you and have your back because I completely agree. And this just, again, like I said earlier, he proved his mental and physical toughness. I have no issue with KJ. That issue goes on. And I'm not going to be one of those people that, I love Sam Pittman and I love Kendall Briles. I really do like both of them, like I said earlier. But when it comes time to criticize, I'm going to criticize them. They should have pulled him back.
Right. And I agree. I mean, it's come out. I don't know if you've seen this yet, but it's come out. The official injury is a knee bruise. I'm sure it's quite bruised on his bodily reaction to that. But, of course, a bruise on your knee you're going to think is going to slow you down anyway. So, kudos to the kid for wanting to tough it out. But I think – especially on that first and second drive before Malik came in, I think he did a lot more harm than good by staying in the game.
I do too, but I'm going to kind of reverse your wording a little bit. I don't think KJ hurt the team. I think Pittman and Briles hurt the team there. Because KJ, of course, KJ is he's proven how tough he is, how good he is, how invaluable he is to this team. And I told you earlier, I think Hornsby is going to be just fine. I like Hornsby for the future. KJ's the present. And without KJ, we don't roll. We don't win much without KJ Jefferson right now. So, of course, he's going to want to go back in the game. That's the competitor in him. And I don't blame him one bit for that. That's on the, you got to pull him back and say, no, go get it looked at. Let's put Malik in for a little bit. Malik can run this offense for a couple of possessions and get you right, and we'll figure it out later. That's on the coaching staff.
Absolutely, absolutely. Brad, I'll let you finish up what you were going to say, and then I'll pose the same question to you that I just posed to Aaron. So go ahead and finish up with your response to me saying that maybe there was a little bit of a call for a flag on that KJ injury.
Okay, well, what I was going to say real quickly was that watching the replay of that game or that play, I didn't see it live because I was traveling and, I was hitting dead spots in my cell connectivity. But when it happened, I didn't even think anything about it. Honestly, I thought, oh, they got him, because I'm one of those guys that believes that even if the quarterback's going to go out of bounds, wide receivers going out of bounds, whatever, I'm all for, playing through the whistle. Defensively, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to play till you hear the whistle, and then just to be safe, maybe play through it a couple of seconds just to ensure that, because today's game, these guys are so athletic. If he acts like he's going to the sideline, stops, and then takes it up the field, well, then you just look stupid. And you give up a touchdown because of it. But, that's one of the risks associated with having a quarterback like KJ Jefferson, is that, he's going to put himself out there as a running back. He's going to lose those protections, and he's going to have to withstand some of the hitting and the tackling and the things of that nature that aren't afforded to you outside of the quarterback position. So as far as referees go today, I couldn't argue that wasn't one of the best called games I've seen in a while. I thought it was pretty evenly, dispersed between the penalties for both sides. So I was quite pleased with the deal. I know that me and you had some issues with the pass interference, or you did, but I thought it was a well-called, officiated game, and I think that both sides, were pretty much down the middle. I mean, if you look at the penalty comparison, it was like 11-10 on each side. So I mean, there was definitely, they were letting them play for sure.
Now, luckily, I don't know if you got to hear me say this, but luckily it appears that KJ's good to go. It looks like a knee bruise. Obviously, it'll slow anybody down if you bruise your knee as far as running, but that's what it looks like. The question I posed to Aaron, Brad, was this. Do you believe – he says he puts the blame on Sam and Kendall for letting him come back out. I put the blame – I said KJ hurt his team by coming back out. Do you believe not making that move right then when he got up limping put the offense behind the eight ball a little bit? Because the mystique, I'll call it, of KJ took quite a large hit. A&M knew exactly what they had to do at that point as soon with KJ staying in. I feel like if we would have switched to Malik at that point, we still would have had A&M on the ropes as far as the running quarterback.
Well, here's the problem that I have with that, and it's this, is that you have to, especially, I don't care what anybody says, they can discredit the A&M team as being, overrated. I've had people text me saying that, that Arkansas, great win, but Texas A&M was a little more overrated than people gave them credit for. And I don't buy that. Are they as good as they were last year? Probably not defensively. They're probably not on that level, but they're still really good. And so with KJ Jefferson in there, just like it was pointed out there at the end of the later in the game when KJ makes his return after Malik comes in, is with KJ Jefferson in the game, there's the threat of him taking off running, regardless if he's hurt or not. He's still a threat because you don't know to the extent that he's hurt. He has a solid arm, and they're going to allow him to throw the football. And now you have the running attack. So to be honest with you, I think it actually served the offense better, and you come to find that out in the third quarter and in the fourth quarter until KJ comes back, and it's nothing against Malik Hornsby whatsoever. It's just the simple fact that, I think that when Malik Hornsby was in there, we became that one-trick pony, and the safeties were able to come up, and the corners were able to play up a little bit more because we weren't going to throw the football at that point. We were going to do the whole Vince Young situation, quarterback left, quarterback right, quarterback up the middle, hand the ball off, and they were able to key that run a little bit more with KJ in there and having 160 something yards to Burks couple other receivers having a couple hundred yards passing, you had to play a little bit more honest. And, to me, if you ask any good quarterback in college football or in the NFL, if your leg hasn't fallen off, you're not going to want to come out of that game. And I could see it in KJ's eyes. He didn't want to leave that game. I mean,
no,
this team and this season means so much to these players and then KJ wants to prove himself to be that leader. And again, take nothing away from Hornsby by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, let's be honest. You got thrust into there against the number 7 team in the country.
Right.
But I think I think that honestly, it didn't take anything off of the offense for KJ to still be in there. I just think that they did a great job of stopping them. I mean, and it really would have been the same principle as if Malik had been there. I mean, they were going to let him throw the ball because they wanted to protect the ball as much as they could. And you could see the transition from the center to the quarterback and the snaps was off. And then Malik's running around like a chicken with his head cut off because there's so much pressure being applied, knowing that his threat for the pass wasn't there. And I don't know if it's because he can't throw the ball perfectly yet or if he just doesn't have the experience to be there. Plus, I'm not sure when the injury to Burks happened, but I don't know. I really feel like that KJ being in there didn't take anything away from the offense. I just think that, Texas A&M stood up and played great defensively for a couple of series. I mean, it's going to happen. They're a good defense.
You brought up my next question to both of you. Aaron, we'll start with you. Malik Hornsby, I was very critical of him during this game. I said he was a, quote, wide receiver playing our quarterback position. I'll tell you this, when you go from a guy like KJ Jefferson size-wise to a guy like Malik Hornsby or just about anybody, the kid looked a lot smaller. The kid looked like he wasn't quite as fast as KJ. And I think, again, the arm was in question. I mean, there's a reason why they only let him throw on a bootleg easy pass. Aaron, I ask you first. Is it that, like Pettis said in the group chat, that the moment got to Hornsby? Or were we sold a bill of goods on Hornsby and he's not as good as advertised?
Well, first, I don't agree that he's not as fast as KJ. I think Malik Hornsby, it's been said, is one of the fastest guys on the team. He is as fast, if not faster. He's just not as big as Jefferson. He's not as powerful as Jefferson. He's not going to be able to run through people, but he can run around them, and he's got some speed. I'm a Malik Hornsby fan. I have no issue with Malik Hornsby. I think, but you got to give him a little bit more time. He's not as matured at this point. And my dad kept saying, earlier KJ has more experience, but we got to remember this is only KJ Jefferson's 5th start. So it's not like he had a ton of experience himself. He's just more matured and more ready for this moment. I mean, Malik Hornsby didn't think he was going to play or didn't think he was going to play much. And then all of a sudden, like Brad said, he's thrust out there against A&M in a huge stage. Yeah, in Jerry World.
Don't negate the fact that Jerry World is its own problem for these young players.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think Malik Hornsby is going to be just fine. I think we're in good hands for the next 4 or 5 years with these two quarterbacks. Just today was just not, he wasn't ready for A&M. And like Brad said, give A&M credit. They are defensively, they're a great team, and they may only lose one more game the rest of the year for all we know. We don't know yet, but they're a very good team, and they're especially a really good defense. And I was like you, I was more irritated that Brawls not giving him a chance to throw. But as it turned out, maybe Brawls knows way more than I do. Maybe he just knows that this was the best thing to go about. Yeah, right. It just wasn't ready yet.
Right. Brad, where do you fall on Malik's performance today? And were we sold a bill of goods, or is he going to show us that he's the real deal?
I mean, I don't think that we were sold any kind of bill of goods that wasn't, that was false. I think that, if we look at the way that Malik Hornsby was advertised as a fast, mobile quarterback, and the only thing that I will say, and just in a little bit of a disagreement with Aaron, is KJ Jefferson played last year against Missouri. Now, albeit it was Missouri, it's not Texas A&M, it's not Alabama, but still, KJ Jefferson's had the full-on experience of, number one, he started in the Texas game. He started in the Missouri game last year. The speed of the game has come, is there for him. He knows this. It's a lot different in practice, I would imagine. Now, I've, never played college or competitive football in college. I played on the high school stage. But the speed of the game, 5 games is probably a lifetime, especially when you start in the SEC against Missouri, and then you play a team like Texas, which is a big game, and then Rice, and then 4 or 5 starts compared to Malik Hornsby getting 1 or 2 snaps is a ton of experience that Malik doesn't have yet. And as far as the play calling with Kendall Briles, I'm not going to question Kendall Briles' play calling, only because why take the chance of sending Malik Hornsby out there to toss the football around when you've had a defense that's been pretty solid the entire game? So
good point.
The thing is, it's like this. Why take, why take the chance, the unnecessary risk of having him sling the ball around and creating a turnover? And then we're talking momentum change. Now we're talking different. We could be talking pick 6. And especially when you have that core group of running backs that you have, and then you can get him to the outside. The thing about it is it's shooting fish in a barrel when Malik Hornsby came in. The defensive coordinator and Jimbo Fisher both basically went, okay, guys, we're gonna play a little bit of coverage, but we're gonna load the box and we're gonna blitz and we're gonna make him run around and beat us with his legs, because we're not fearing the pass right now. Now that could change in a couple of years, but it obviously, the thing that worries me about it is we have to hope that KJ Jefferson can stay healthy this season, because I'm a little concerned, only because it's the unknown. It's not that he's not capable, but we got a tall order next week, and
absolutely.
And so, but as far as it goes, no, I think Briles, tried to make the game as comfortable as he could for his super young quarterback. There's no reason for him to go out there and be a gunslinger when he doesn't have to. Melt some clock, keep moving the football, hold on to the football, and then, let your defense go out there and do what they've been doing all game. And it's a team game, and I thought that we won the game and everything turned out okay. And, it could have been a different story if we were down or if it was tied. We could have seen a completely different game plan, but situation dictated that Malik Hornsby just needed to kind of manage the ball while he had it and try to get a couple of first downs and then put it back in the defense's hands.
Absolutely. Aaron, you want to respond before we move on?
No, I was never saying that Michael and I went back and forth that, you needed at some point to show that Hornsby could do something besides just hand the ball off, because the defense was getting wore out by that point. That was my issue. I was never worried about going down and scoring so much as I wanted to get a couple of first downs, and with them loading the box, it was 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. And our defense was getting absolutely no rest. They were, by the end of the game, I'm sure they were gassed. Yeah. That was my biggest worry, was, at least let him do a quick little dump off, which they eventually did. And we were able to finally move the ball towards the end of his run there and get the field goal that we had to get. The field goal is what sealed it. But, I was just simply saying that I didn't want to see Hornsby come out and throw 20 passes, but at least come out and throw a couple here and there just to prove that he could, so that maybe they would back up a little bit. We can run the ball more. That was the only thing I was saying.
Absolutely.
Right. Oh, no, I absolutely agree. I don't know if it would have changed. I really don't. I don't think that it would have changed Texas A&M's defensive scheme. Just because, I think that the thing with Arkansas, their identity this year is that the run game.
Right.
And so I think Texas A&M would have stayed with at least put 6 or 7 pressure up there and relied on their, because let's be honest, Texas A&M came into this game 84th in the country against the run, but like number 1 in total defense against the pass. So I think Texas A&M felt very solid in their secondary, and I felt like they thought they were going to be enough. So I don't think it would have changed anything, honestly. That's just, in my opinion. I think that both coaches played to their strengths, and yeah, I mean, sure, I totally agree with you that the defense was probably wore out. But you know what? That defense literally in the first and second quarter had only been off the field for a total of like 6 or 7 minutes.
Right.
So, but let me say this too. By the way, big hats off to my boy Williamson today, man. Holy crap!
Woo!
Number 55 was in their ass today, and honestly, I'm so glad that he was. I mean, a member of that team and played the way he did today, because honestly, if anybody deserves 2 or 3 game balls, it's that guy.
Yeah, double nickel is definitely my MVP. Okay, boys, before we get into the fourth quarter and KJ's return and obviously the victory, I want to talk about one certain play that got quite a response from Aaron. So we'll start with Brad on this one, and it was the crackback block on the little running back Green that they called. Obviously, it was the right call going back and looking at it. But do you believe that kind of cheapens the toughness of the game? I can see Aaron's point when he texted me that a little bit. Brad, we'll start with you. What did you think of the call on the crackback?
I thought it was the right call. I grew up at 42, 43 years this year on different style of football that's being played today. I was there for the Atwater era, the Ronnie Lott era, but I understand it. I don't think it cheapens the game. I think it is there to protect these players, because let's be honest, these guys are bigger, faster, stronger. To me personally, I would rather see these guys play, longer into their careers than see that one spectacular hit. To me, if it's a good block, like circa the Casey Dick block against LSU,
yes,
that to me is one thing. But when a guy is coming back and he turns around and you just lay into him, like to me, it's unnecessary, because all you have to do is literally just basically you were already the directional path you were taking. All you got to do is get in front of him and just collide with him. To lower and launch, to me, was the right call, because there's no reason for any of these guys to suffer potentially career, life, and or future injury over a football game, to me. And I'm not saying that I think that it's sissifying the game. I just look at it from the standpoint of it's a Saturday football game. In the grand scheme of life, does it mean as much as we make it out to be? Absolutely not. But at the same time, I don't want to see anybody get hurt more than just the minor injury. I mean, I still remember Chucky Mullins at Ole Miss. Comes out of a football game, he can't walk again. Was it worth it? Probably not. So I thought it was a great call, and and the only reason that I think that that didn't cheapen the game was because he did kind of lower and launch at him. It's kind of the same reason that they protect the legs now on blocks. Because people don't need to suffer injury on just to get that Sports Center highlight hit. To me, I mean, I could be wrong, and people may not agree with me, but I didn't have a problem with them calling that play at all.
Okay, Aaron, it's been a couple hours since the game. Has your feelings kind of calmed down a little bit on that, or do you still think it was do you still think that's a penalty that's kind of over enforced, I guess would be the word I'm looking for?
I don't think it's over-enforced. I just thought it was a big hit. And wasn't looking at it as close as you two were. at the end of the day, this is football. It's a physical game, and if you can, you're going to take hits, and that's just the way it is. If you don't like it, like I'm not letting my son play football. I'm
Right.
not going to let Jacob play football. And if you don't want to get hit, don't play it. Now, there are plenty of hits I've seen that are total BS hits. I didn't think that was one of them. I just didn't. The guy was running around trying to make a play, and if he had just stood in front of the guy, and then the guy gets around him and makes a play on the quarterback, then we're sitting there going, why didn't he block him? He blocked.
I'll be honest. Live, I thought the hit was spectacular, and the kid was protecting his quarterback. But going back, I can see the launch.
I didn't see the launch live. I saw it on replay. Okay, they called the play. It didn't matter what I thought. They called it anyway. Right. I'm just saying that at the end of the day, if you don't want to get hit, they shouldn't be playing football. And I've seen plenty of big time hits. I've never seen, and maybe I was wrong, but I've watched a lot of Steve Atwater playing. That dude was a hard hitter, and people usually got up and survived just fine. And I'm just like, to me, sometimes they don't call big hits, and I'm like, where's the call there? And then sometimes they call big hits, and I'm like, to me, that just looked like a hard block.
Absolutely, kind of like the targeting situation.
It was a very hard hit, no doubt about it. He laid the guy out, no doubt about it. And after watching it, like you said, watch the replay, I could see the launch. If they had called targeting, I wouldn't have had an issue with it because he did. But at the time when the call was made, no, I was pissed because I thought it was just I'm like, why can you not hit anymore in football? Is that what it is now?
Well, and we may or may not have been struggling pretty hard at that point too, so maybe that colored your opinion as well.
Oh yeah, probably so. I can't remember exactly when that play happened, but was it Hornsby was in the game at the time, right?
Hornsby was the one he was protecting, yeah.
Yeah. So that I'm not going to sit here. I'm not a cool, calm, collected fan. I'm a fan that gets into it. I get loud and I get pretty raucous sometimes, and I get angry because I've spent my entire life, as we all have, wanting to see the Razorbacks freaking win. And so, at some point, I'm tired of this. Every year Arkansas fans say, "Well, maybe next year's the year." I want that year to finally at some point get here. And when we go up against these big boys like the A&Ms and like the Alabamas, and I don't have a problem with hitting them hard and showing them we're here. We're here. We're not going to be afraid anymore. So that was part of my issue at the time. Was it felt like a call that I don't know if an Alabama player does that, if it gets called.
It's possible. You make a good point. Okay, guys, let's move on to the fourth quarter. Let's talk about, Brad, I'm going to pose this one to you because I already let Aaron respond. Maybe you saw something that we didn't see, but I mean, I love our head coach, but what the hell was he complaining about with the clap on the goal line? Like they weren't clapping. They weren't clapping.
They weren't. Well, here's the thing, though. Here's the deal with that situation. You have to go basically from the perspective of Sam Pittman, from his perspective. He's on the field. He's eye level with the play. He doesn't have the benefit of multiple camera angles. He doesn't have the benefit of being able to see the play after it's happened.
Right.
So to me, it was just a coach that may have thought he saw something and was trying to get it called. Obviously, there was nothing that happened, but to be honest with you, from Sam Pittman's view, 50 yards away, with the offensive line in front of him blocking the view, it could have easily looked like that. For them to continue the argument was pretty much just general coaching. To me, it was just, hey, they were doing this, even if they weren't, maybe they had been doing that, down the road or before that, and we just didn't see it because, like they said, Arkansas snaps off the clap of the quarterback,
right?
Like a lot of teams do now to kind of negate the noise factor. And maybe they thought they saw that, and they didn't have the benefit of replay. I mean, I actually can say that I was one of the last. I was at the last game that Arkansas won in the Southwest Classic when Mike Sherman decided to go for it on 4th and 2, and Petrino came back and beat him.
Yep.
And to say that that was 10 years ago is absolutely astonishing to me.
Right.
But, or 11 years ago, whatever it was. But no, I think that Sam Pittman was, we have to see, I think a lot of people do that sometimes. I think that they go, well, what the hell was he thinking? Or what was Jimbo Fisher doing? Or, I mean, we're not there in the moment. We don't have we have the pressure of our team winning, but we don't have the $1 million contracts on that win and on their performance like these guys do. So any competitive edge that they can garner, they're going to go for it. And so I don't say that he may have thought that it happened and was trying to, tell the official. And we had the benefit of getting to see 14,000 replays of it where it didn't happen.
Right.
And they don't show that on the screen. I mean, they don't show that replay on the screen like they do on television. They may show the replay of the play, but they don't particularly slow it down to look for that incident. I think that's in the rule book. Actually, on replays, they're not even allowed to. I don't think they're allowed to show the play on the screen while the replay is being done. They may now, because the replays come from a different facility, and the referee isn't influenced by the crowd noise or whatever. But for sure, they used to not. You used to only see the replay of a play after it's happened, and then it goes back to the camera coverage of the field.
Right. Okay, gentlemen. Pretty much the story of the fourth quarter. We kicked a field goal, but we saw something we haven't seen in a long time here in Arkansas. Arkansas closed out a football game. This goes back to Bobby Petrino's John L. Smith. This goes back that far since we've seen an Arkansas team close out a game. And that's what they were able to do here today. KJ came back in. KJ, that is all man right there under center for the Arkansas Razorbacks. I think we can all agree there. There was a key play that I kind of want to discuss, though, the interception from Calzada. Obviously hits his player in the helmet. Then I believe it was Morgan got up and got a hand on it. The kid comes in and secures the ball.
It was actually Bumper Pool that went for it.
Bumper?
Number
Okay,
10.
I thought it was Morgan. Okay.
No,
so
it was number 10.
Bumper got the hand on the ball and then causes it to go towards the ground, change the trajectory, interception. So it was called an interception on the field. The question I have, and I think I text you guys this, both in the group chat and in your chat, Brad. What took so long on the replay of that? Within 2 minutes.
I can tell you what took so long.
He came back and then went back under the hood. Like, I've never even seen that before.
Yeah, well, here's the thing on that, and it's real simple. The reason that it took so long was because of the criticalness of that situation. It's 17-10 at that point, and Arkansas has got a chance to flip the field and gain control of the football, and they wanted to make sure that they got it right. That's the thing about it, and this is the crazy part of this game, is there were so many of what I call hypocritical knockouts that a lot of Razorback fans suffer from. They usually get pissed at the referees for making a knee-jerk decision. And the referees actually took their time. They studied the play. And the question that they were having, and to me, it was like 50-50 at first when I saw the first couple of replays. And then a couple more times I was like, okay, I was a little iffy on when he gets the ball, he obviously puts his hands under the ball. But when he hits the turf, the ball moves up. And so I was like, well, shit, that could have actually hit the ground. But the thing that secured the catch for him, it was ruled interception. There was no clear and precise, definitive definition of overturning it. But they wanted to make sure that he never lost control of the ball, and that was the thing. He never lost control of the football. The ground actually came into play while his hands were still on the ball, and they never removed from the ball when the ball shifted from the impact of the ground.
Right.
And so I applaud the SEC and the officiating crew I would rather them take 30 minutes to get a call right than take 5 minutes to get the call wrong, and then Texas A&M go on to tie that game, and we could be looking at a different situation. So to me, we could still be reviewing the call right now, and I'd be fine with it. Because at least I know that they took the concerted effort to get it right and not just go. And then, again, of course, it shot a complete hole in everybody's theory that the referees are always against Arkansas. They actually, if that was the case and that was the Birmingham decision, the great conspiracy of whatever, that call would have been reversed and within 2 minutes. But it wasn't.
Point.
So they got it right. They got it right, and take your time. What have I got to do? Nothing. I'm here to watch a game. I don't have a press conference to go to. So get it right. Let's play football. And I'm glad they took their time.
True. Aaron, were you upset with the amount of time it took to come back and call it a interception?
No, because they ultimately got it right. Had they come back and reversed it, and Brad, you can make fun of those Arkansas fans all you want to. I'm one of them. There are plenty of times I've seen bullshit calls, and I'm not sitting here saying that the SEC made the call. I'm saying they get shitty referees. They do more times, maybe not more times, but there's plenty of times they have shitty referees in the SEC. We're the best conference in football.
No, I agree with you. I'm not saying Mark Curls, point example.
Oh my God!
I'm not.
Yeah.
No, no, trust me. I understand that, and I used to be one of those, Aaron. I promise you. You can ask Michael. But as I've come, as I guess as my age progresses, I kind of turn around and I go, okay. To me, this is my personal opinion. It's not a knock on anybody, but to me, I used to use that as an excuse personally as to why this didn't happen or why we didn't do this. Well, we're playing 13 guys or whatever many referees account for, but whatever. But to me personally, like I look back and I just I don't know. I look at this. I look at the game and the Hogs a little bit different. I'm as passionate as anybody in the world, but I also look at the fact and I go, unless it's a particular individual like Mark Curls, I'm just like whatever. Because I was always taught to play above the officiating, and I know that sounds redundant. It's kind of sounds hard to do, but to me. Like to answer to Michael's question again, I have a problem with it. I thought they did a great job, and I can see some questionable calls, but then again, I've turned around and seen where Arkansas has gotten some favoritism in some of the stuff that's happened to them. So I think it all balances out. But and it's not making fun of Razorback fans at all. It's just saying, it kind of blows a hole in the theory that that not all fans are this way, but some of them are like. It doesn't matter what Arkansas does. The referees they don't like them. They don't like them in Birmingham. The SEC's located in Alabama, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I mean,
Oh, Brad, you and I are cool. I love you to death, man. I was just just messing with you.
No. I don't want people to think that I'm saying like, I'm not against Razorback fans. I'm one of them, but I don't know, man. I've been on this Facebook group, Razorback Nation, and it's just people just kill me on there, man. They so kill me. I mean, it's like, whoo. And then I got another theory that I'll get into later about the whole ranking system. Like, I think people are putting way too much stock in that right now. Like, I don't care where we come out Sunday in the rankings. I don't care. I prefer not to have a rank by our name, honestly, until later on in the season. I understand you got to have it for this college football playoffs, this, that, and the other. But like right now, I just want to go out and play football. I don't want, I'm not calling directory assistants right now, getting Alabama's number. I can promise you that. I'm not that guy going, we want Bama. And I don't really want Bama right now. Okay. I just want to enjoy my damn Aggies win right now. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, gentlemen. So obviously Clemson goes down. We have a potential, don't want to, drink no rat poison, but we have a potential top 10 matchup next week in Athens with Georgia. Brad, I told you I was going to give you a question for that I thought was pretty good. Obviously, we know KJ just a knee bruise now, but I don't know too many people that look at this game as winnable. If you're Sam Pittman, do you not sit behind that desk and at least partially consider Because of how big of a mountain this is going to be to climb.
No. I can already tell you the answer is no.
Do you consider starting Malik Hornsby at quarterback?
No, absolutely not. Here's why. This football team going into the Texas game was told they didn't have a chance. Going into the A&M game, A&M's defense, A&M's defense, A&M's defense, A&M's defense. No chance, no chance, no chance. 9 in a row, no chance. Absolutely not. And here's the thing: if that was the case, and Sam Pittman goes, well, we don't have a chance at winning this game, so I'm not going to start KJ. Then fire his fat ass tomorrow. And that's my point. I mean, I love Sam, don't get me wrong, but fire his fat ass tomorrow if that's the mentality that he takes. And I know it's not. Sam Pittman's going to go out there and put whoever he's got the best chance to win. Now,
and you're right. Sam's a competitor. I'm more worried about the long term for KJ, though. That's why I posed the question.
No. There's the worst thing you could do is go, KJ, I'm not putting you in, because you're going to deplete this guy's confidence, because KJ wants to win. And you basically saying, well, no, absolutely not. No way in hell do you not play your best guys. It's football. I mean, he could get hurt against UAPB. He may get his car stereo stolen too, but still.
Aaron, I'll go ahead and is your opinion any different than Brad's?
Absolutely not. He and I are completely in sync on this. And I'll go with you one further. Not only will it hurt KJ's confidence, but if you put Hornsby out there, and like I said earlier, I think Hornsby's the future. I like him for the future. You risk that future too. True. Because Georgia could come out next week and just completely dominate Malik Hornsby. And what would that leave for Hornsby in the future? That could lose any confidence he has too.
That's true.
So no, you don't even consider sitting KJ Jefferson unless he just physically cannot go. And I think we all know that's not the case. It looks like he's going to be able to go. If you need to pull him out at some point, if he's hurt or if we're down by a few touchdowns, then pull him. But you gotta start him. You have to start him.
So, gentlemen,
you're 4-0. You're looking at somewhere, I would imagine, between a 12th and an 12th and 8th ranking come tomorrow afternoon when the polls get released. You're probably going to be, the only exception would be that they go to Ole Miss, Alabama, but you've got 2 4-0 football teams battling between the hedges on ESPN. I don't see why game day wouldn't be. I thought game day would actually be there today, but you potentially have game day sitting in Athens, Georgia. You're 4-0. You have a puncher's chance in this game. I mean, you go back and you look at last year when we played Georgia for 3 quarters pretty close, and our defense is absolutely ridiculous. So you have a chance. Now, I'm still sliding the edge to Georgia to win this game. I don't think Arkansas is the caliber of team right now to go undefeated. And today showed me a lot of validity to that point, in the aspect that, I just think that we've had some luck, but you got to have luck. That's part of football. I mean, we haven't seen the best quarterback Texas had. We definitely didn't see the best quarterback that A&M had. And we were able to rattle the young Calzada kids. So we did what we had to do, but I still think Georgia, competitive edge-wise, gets this one. But I still think, you know what? We're 4-0. At the beginning of the season, Vegas had it as 5-5. There are 5 wins. Like 5.5 wins was the over-under on the betting line. And we're obviously, without a question, we should at least get 6 or 7 wins easily for that. But no way. I swear, dude, I love Sam Pittman, but if that was the case, like, KJ better not be able to walk before he's, what I'm saying? If he's able to play, absolutely, he'll be starting, no problem, no question.
And I'm not going to disagree with you. I was just thinking in the era of load management, it may come up. Okay, gentlemen, I'm going to give you a tough ask. And I'll start out with how I see it going. But I'm going to ask you on game day, who hasn't picked Arkansas yet. On game day, convince me that Arkansas beats Georgia, and how do they do it? I'm going to start off. I think defense. You mentioned quarterback play. Their quarterback is obviously JT Daniels is obviously not what we all thought he was at the beginning of the season. I think defense is where it's going to start. Defense is where Arkansas has to eat. I think that KJ is by far the best quarterback that they have played thus far, and I think that they need to use KJ's athleticism as much as humanly possible against that Georgia defense, whether it be airing it out on long bombs or allowing KJ to break stride and do it on the ground. I think that's how you do it. You go in there and get probably the biggest win in program history between the hedges. Aaron, how do we get it done if we get it done?
Well, I agree. It's going to have to be defense. I'm going to go a little different, and y'all probably disagree with me, but Georgia, as great as they are and as great as they've been in the past, they always seem to have that one game where they just don't show up well.
Like
other than the year they went undefeated and played Alabama for the national championship, that was just Tua coming in and just lighting them up. Right. But South Carolina is one team that's always seemed, other than this year, they've always seemed to be able to play competitively with Georgia. It's like us and LSU. There's always just something there. And South Carolina has upset Georgia a few times in the past. They always seem to have that one game where even if they win, they don't play as well as they should. Now, let's be honest. On paper, our defense is good enough to keep us in it. Georgia should beat us because they are by far a better team. But we all know in college football that doesn't always happen. It's not always the better team that wins, unless you're Alabama. It's not always the better team. It's usually the team that plays the hardest on that day. And Georgia, I find it hard to believe with, still their big rivalry game with Auburn coming up later this year. And I think they play Alabama this regular season too, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so.
Then that they're going to be looking at Arkansas as a team that's going to come into Georgia and beat them. I just don't see them giving us the confidence or the giving us the respect we deserve. So if we're going to beat them, it's going to be that chip on the shoulder. And one of the guys on CBS said it earlier that Sam Pittman's going to know this Georgia team better than anybody else in the country because he was there for a while. He knows Kirby Smart. He knows Kirby Smart's tendencies. He knows a lot of those players because he helped recruit a lot of those players. So that's going to give us a little bit of an edge. I honestly don't know that we come in there and win, but I will tell you this. I will bet money on it that I'm convinced that this team, while they may not win, Georgia will know who we are. It'll be a 4-quarter game, and they will have to beat us. They're not going to be able to just roll their helmets on the field and run us over like they did Vanderbilt today. We're not Vanderbilt. We're not Vanderbilt. We're not anybody else.
I was just about to ask, are we going to get it to the fourth, you think?
I think so. Absolutely. I do. Now, I'm not saying, it'll be a one-score game. We may be down by 10 in the fourth, but we're going to be there at the end with a chance. Maybe not in the final couple of minutes, but during the fourth quarter, it's going to be a game just like it was last year. Last year, we were not intimidated by them. We just weren't ready for them yet. This year might be a little different. If we were playing them in Fayetteville this year, I'd go the full Monty and say we win the game. But going to Athens will be a little bit different. It'll be a little bit harder to win it in Athens.
Absolutely, absolutely. Brad, convince me.
Well, I'm going to have to respectfully disagree with one thing that Aaron said. I don't think that Georgia is going to come in here thinking that Arkansas is going to cupcake. You beat Texas. You beat A&M. You beat both teams in a pretty dominant fashion. I think that Kirby Smart, maybe at the beginning of the season, he's like, got a game here against Arkansas. Yeah, we played them close for a little while last year, but eventually we took over and we won the game pretty handily. I think this year it's a different story. I think they're going to come into this game, especially with that number that's besides Arkansas's name now, 4-0, and you've just watched a team defy the odds by pretty much the talking heads in sports that they went in and they took out A&M, who was a national contender to start the season. Had a pretty solid defense. You were still able to pretty much put 400. And Kirby Smart's going to go, you know what, guys? This Arkansas team hasn't let a team really get over 300 total yards on them all year. Here's the thing that's I want to try to convince you, Michael, but as bad as Clemson, as I shouldn't say bad, as bad as Clemson suffered this year compared to what they had been in the past, Georgia only let them score 3 points. I think Georgia's only given up, one touchdown? If any.
I think maybe one offensive touchdown.
Yeah. So Georgia's going to come in. They're going to play their brand of hard-nosed defense. We're going to play our brand of hard-nosed defense. The only thing that, I wish I could try to say you on something. I don't think Arkansas is where it needs to be to beat a program like Georgia right now. Can they hang with them? Absolutely. Unless something dramatic happens and we just get behind the 8 ball and their defense is just that we don't know how good their defense really is, other than they gave Clemson 3 points. But does that look very impressive right now? Probably not. But the thing about it is that I don't think they're going to overlook Arkansas. I think if you're a team that overlooks Arkansas, then maybe you need to evaluate your coaching staff. Because this team here, after 4 games and beating A&M like they did, let's be honest, they beat A&M pretty solid. I know it's 20-10, 10-point game, but if you look statistically, they held Spiller, one of the best running backs, to 95 yards. Bijan Robinson of Texas held him to under 100 yards. So, if they're going to win it, it's going to be on defense, and they're going to, they're going to really have to get on them early and just try to keep Georgia down with that defense. If I could say anything, it's Arkansas has been pretty successful in the first quarter, minus the Rice game as far as offensively. But one thing they have done is they haven't allowed a score in the first quarter in 4 ball games. So Arkansas is going to have to come out offensively quick and hope that they can stop Georgia's offense enough in the first quarter to get a little bit of a lead, and then maybe rest back on their defense and their run game. And who knows, man? Maybe the offensive line for Arkansas wasn't 100%, with Stromberg and those guys yet. But I think Arkansas is close, like Aaron said. But at the end of the day, I think that Georgia wins this one. I don't know. I don't want to put a line on it, but I think it's going to be a close game, and I think it's really going to come down to, like it always does, turnovers and just offensive possession and keeping the ball, honestly, and penalties. If Arkansas plays a clean game like they did against Texas and A&M, even though they made some pretty, they were penalized this week, but if they play a clean game like they did against Texas, then I could see them beating Georgia. But I'm thinking this may end the 4-0 streak, honestly. And I know people will probably judge me for it, but I think Georgia's a pretty good football team. They've got a solid defense, and I'll be curious to see where our offense stacks up against that Georgia defense. They're solid. That's a solid defensive team.
Hey, me and Aaron said it earlier. There's nothing to be disappointed about in the 3-1 over this quote-unquote brutal schedule we have over the next few weeks. Nothing at all. And I think 3-1 is definitely possible after today. Well, gentlemen, we're pretty much done for the night until tomorrow when we do the full college football rewind. I do want to thank you guys for coming along and doing the post game, and I want to thank you guys for watching who were watching. And until tomorrow about 4 o'clock, I am Money Mike. For Aaron and Brad, we hope you guys have a good night.
Well, here's Mississippi State up big in the second